More American cities could soon start seeing U.S. military deployments, whether state officials want it or not. In Louisiana, Republican Governor Jeff Landry has formally requested permission from the federal government to activate up to 1,000 National Guard troops. While in Illinois, Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker says the Trump administration is preparing to deploy 100 troops to his state after Border Patrol agents spent the weekend, quote, harassing and intimidating residents and tourists in Chicago. Pritzker calls the deployment plan a dangerous power grab. Today, President Trump told the nation's top generals and admirals that major U.S. cities should be military training grounds.
San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon.
The president there describing the situation as a war from within. Now, Oregon is pushing back after the Trump administration called 200 members of the Oregon National Guard into federal service effective immediately for a 60-day deployment. Trump says the troops are needed to, quote, protect war-ravaged Portland. Attorneys for Oregon have filed a motion asking a federal judge for an emergency order blocking the deployment. We're joined now by Eric Zimmerman, a Portland City Council member and lieutenant colonel in the Oregon National Guard. Thank you so much for being with us. Can you tell us the latest that you have heard on any deployment plans to Portland? Have you or others received any notification? Have you been called up?
Hi, good morning, Brianna. Thanks. It's a good fall day here in Portland. I just want to be clear. Today I'm speaking as a Portland City Councillor and a representative of the downtown area where much of what we're talking about is taking place. With respect to National Guard questions, I think it's most important to direct those back to the Oregon Military Department and the Governor of Oregon. But for my own status, no, I have not received such an order.
Okay, and I do want to be clear. I understand the situation you are in. Members of the military are supposed to remain apolitical. You happen to have a job that makes that a little bit difficult. But if you can speak from that position that you have in your community, how would you describe things in Portland? Because we're hearing from officials here in Washington,
Certainly.
We're hearing from the president that it's war ravaged. You know, I have talked to people in Portland who would not describe it as such. How do you see the situation in Portland?
Great question. And what I would say is that over the last few days, Portland has really been out, right? It's been good weather, and everybody knows the Pacific Northwest will have a rainy day occasionally. So people are out. We're having lunch at the food carts that Portland is famous for. College just started for a lot of our community college, so kids are getting back to school, get back to classes. It's an everyday normal event here in Portland in terms of what the situation on the ground is. That's why I have said over and over, beginning on Friday when we first got this news, that there is no situation that would dictate that some sort of increased federal presence is needed in Portland. The presence of a few protesters outside of the ICE facility doesn't warrant increased federal presence. In fact, 2 nights ago, Portland police were able to arrest 2 people who really did step over the line. And I think that shows that Portland police has full control of the situation here in Portland, and that we are still enabling people to voice their First Amendment rights, their freedom to assemble, and holding them accountable to do it in a public order, safe and peaceful manner. So I certainly, as a representative of the downtown, would highly disagree, and I think that Oregon and Portland's lawsuit to stop this increase of federal forces inside of Portland is appropriate, because I have not seen any reason why such an action needs to be taken.
So what are you saying to residents? Because today the president says that he told Secretary Hegseth we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. He talked about Chicago, but of course Portland is very much on the radar. What are the concerns that you're hearing from residents as we're hearing rhetoric like that?
Certainly, we have a lot of different concerns as residents of Portland. First and foremost, I think that residents are concerned that this will lead to an increase in the ICE type raids that we've seen in other parts of the country, where people are being detained and arrested largely based on the color of their skin and perceived status rather than any sort of due process. And so that is certainly front of mind for Portlanders, immigrants and non-immigrants, because that seems so out of the good order of how we should go about our judicial system. With respect to Portlanders and our anticipation for what this type of increase of federal presence means, what I'm telling residents is you should make your opposition to this known. You should do it peacefully. Don't instigate anything at the ICE facility that then makes them, what I think is they're looking for an incident to use as a catalyst for a larger approach. And I think that would be really shameful on behalf of the federal government if they introduce that kind of situation. And so what I'm hoping is that Portlanders make their opposition to this increase known, and that there is no reason for federal troops to be sent to Oregon, that no constitutional or federal law, any legal reason that we would see that, and do so peacefully. Let's not give them what I think that some federal advisors are looking for.
And just really quickly before I let you go, if you were activated, would you comply or would you seek to somehow, resign from your position in the Guard?
I think that the act of mustering to follow your orders is perfectly fine on those individual soldier levels. I would encourage anybody who's getting those orders from their chain of command to consult their chain of command and not take advice from a city councilor. This matter is personal and individual. So since I haven't gotten those such orders, and I don't expect to, I'm going to continue to speak as a city councilor for Portland and for downtown.
All right, we certainly understand that. Council member Eric Zimmerman, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brianna. Thank you for covering this.